people's stories and doing shows and getting the information out there. But ultimately, we have to sit back and ask ourselves, what really resonates? What is our truth? We don't want to just blindly follow anything. I don't want anybody to just hear my words and say, okay, that's where it is. But I certainly want people to look into what I'm sharing and go within and see what it does. And so that level of neutrality is important because it keeps us connected to our intuition, and it keeps us safe on that level. And it's also the balance of the masculine and feminine. It's also enables us to maintain our ground when we're dealing with a lot of duality, and it's very easy to be so sensitive to almost go up and down constantly, and that doesn't really serve us to be, in that sort of roller coaster on an emotional or a mental level. So in that case, neutrality protects us. But the choices we make, are either really, it comes down to service to others, service to self, our higher self, or really self-will, which is out of alignment with integrity, or divine will. The biggest lesson is to bring our ego into alignment with higher self and to activate divine will and to allow, these forces to move through us, because we are in alignment with the galactic plane. We're dealing with, very high vibration energies that just want to, work with us. And it's really about, this process of initiation, because this upgrades our DNA, it changes our frequency, and when our vibration and frequency changes, we start to attract a world or experiences or a reality that mirrors that. And this, this is not just some philosophy. I noticed this in my own life. And, the tests and turbulations that we all go through have to do with those sort of choices. Are you a victim or are you a warrior? Or, is it about your heart or is it about your ego? And we're always asked these questions day to day in the way we relate to everybody. Now, if we make too many decisions that are self-serving and aren't in alignment with higher self or divine will, based on natural law and cosmic law and universal laws, then, we deal with ramifications. And those ramifications can be some of those pictures that we see that relate to an enslaved society, a lot of different Armageddon sort of scenarios, because the dreamscape is reflecting back a level of unconsciousness that being is bringing upon themselves. But the choice is always there to not go that route. But some souls almost need to experience that level of deprivation and degradation in order to start to say, wait a second, I'm made of more. And once somebody identifies that and commits themselves to the unfolding and blossoming of it, anybody can lift themselves out of anything. Even Maldek, which has been said, used to have a frequency fence similar to this planet, where there was quarantine, where it was very difficult to leave that planetary body and to have the freedom to come and go like we used to be able to do. So this is a technology and a device that has been not just on our world, but in other worlds. And it takes a lot of abilities to increase one's frequency and spiritual abilities and awareness to be able to get out of that scenario. And that's what we're being called to do. And when enough people do it on a collective level, yes, it allows these other things to dissolve and fall away. But if we don't reach those numbers, those that are awake aren't going to have to pay the price, in my view, of where everybody else is asleep. Now, some people would argue with me and say, no, I don't think so. And that's fine, because I'm not here to say everybody believe in what I do. But nobody has proof about what the future holds. But I hold this as something that just makes sense. And whether it happens or not doesn't matter as much as just what I'm committed to and my desire to, keep my frequency high and to do the work that I do. And, we can only rest upon that as being some level of assurance about what our future is going to be. And it's going to be far better if we focus on those energies compared to not, even if it's not, going to be necessarily favorable a little while yet to come. A lot of people talk about the date 2017 as being when the window of opportunity basically closes, and there's really just a major choice to be made, where the lessons of duality or whatever you want to call it, or free will choice based on, surviving. This is what my view is: surviving manipulation and mind control, which is much more a free will choice than actually having true free will. Because to me, we don't even have real free will when there's this much manipulation and evil, that it's really preventing people's progress. I think it's more of a survivor story, our ascension, of being able to overcome it and claim our sovereignty and our, divinity to get us back on track, more than we really have had a lot of free will. But when it comes down to waking up, once we wake up, that's when free will is activated. Now that you know, what are you going to do with that knowledge? Are you going to abuse it? It's like a person coming into power or a leadership position. Are you going to abuse it, or are you going to,
right,
recognize it as a blessing and as a resource for others? And so there definitely is some kind of split. I can't say exactly how it's going to look, but I think that those that have made the right choices for their spirit and just their higher self and their heart are raising their energy every day and getting closer and closer to seeing a true reflection of that in a higher world experience. And those that don't are needing to experience that other scenario. And for some, it's not always going to be easily reversible. So there's always intervention. There's always light workers. There's always an attempt to bring people out of it. But, you can't really do much more than just send the message, and hopefully people will take it seriously enough to look into it and do the inner work. And that's all you can do is give people that inspiration. But this is where we are. This is where free will is getting more activated than it ever has been, because we have been in quarantine. We have been out of alignment with the galactic plane. We've been taken advantage of. We've been really vulnerable. And now that we really know and all the facts are out there and we have this alignment happening and we do have the ability to ascend right now, that's when the choices are much more at our fingertips. And this is, much more concentrated during this particular phase, and in earlier phases too. 26,000 years ago, when there was a major split in the forces of archonic rulership behavior, that we saw with the Anunnaki, and then the implementation of some of these technologies. And, of course, the beginnings of all the different agendas from the Illuminati, and now that that's reached critical mass and that's almost taken over, so is the ascension path of those that have stayed true to the light and true to themselves, with the fact that these, portals have opened and the natural stargates are opening. So there's two scenarios going on for sure. And, if people just commit themselves to the path that they want, it's okay to make mistakes, but the commitment is what really helps one get back on track. And that's the best we can do. We can't be perfect, because putting that kind of pressure on ourselves makes us fall. So the best we can do is just be committed and devoted to the ascension timeline, to the organic process of having our own activations to really fully embody the most advanced technology, which is us, rather than fall into the pit of transhumanism and, becoming, locked into the matrix underneath the elite, or becoming an agent of them, which basically gives one's soul to the dark side.
Absolutely. Now, we have a break coming up. We're going to be back in just a few. Any last questions for Laura? This is the last segment. 218-339-8525. All right, we've reached the end of the road of tonight's show. This is the last segment of Outside the Box. Our very special guest, Laura Eisenhower. For those living on the East Coast, or those that are open to traveling to Philadelphia in late April, I may or may not be at the Free Your Mind conference. Only time will tell, and if it's meant to happen. But this is a very, very important convergence. One could even say pilgrimage of many, many speakers, but also many people that in a way have that Gnostic vibration emanating from their being, people that seek to know the knowledge. And this is also, Laura, a very interesting point in the timeline to have this conference with solar maximum approaching and all the potential positive effects that we could experience from these gatherings, from coming together in light of so many, horrific things in the news. Now, with that, we're going to go quickly to the 215 area code. Caller, welcome.
Hi, this is Tim Smith. I'm a co-organizer of the Free Your Mind conference, and I just decided to call in to remind people about the conference, and I heard that you were already talking about it. So, timing.
Hey there. Can't wait to go there.
So, Chris, what's the website for people to go check it out and see who's on the roster list for speakers?
Yeah, the website is freeyourmindconference.com. And you could also, at the top, there's a link for past conferences. And if you go there, you can see all the videos from the last conference that we had. And Laura Eisenhower gave a great presentation that you could watch from the last one. And all the speakers' videos are up there for free, so people can check that out. And we're also holding a radio marathon on March 30th at freeyourmindconference.com, and we're going to have a 12-hour radio marathon to kind of just get the word out. So everybody be aware of that. Check that out on March 30th.
Awesome.
All right, awesome, sharing. Chris. Hey, Chris, do you have my email?
No, I don't. I'm sorry. It was Tim, though. My name's Tim.
Oh, Tim? Okay, well, if you could send me an email, alex_ansary@hotmail.com, or find me on Facebook. Yeah, let's talk some more about the conference.
Cool, man. We'll do. I'll send something over to you.
This is definitely going to be a big event. Thank you so much for calling in, and I'm going to have some other people on the show later in April that are going to be making an appearance at the Free Your Mind conference. So we've only got about 7 minutes left. And Laura, I want to ask you, so what beginning tips can you give people that understand what you're saying, what I'm saying, and they're ready to really unplug and go to the next level? Some of the tips for deprogramming, some of the tips for protecting one's space, some of the tips you have for people accessing their own information.
Yeah, just really detach from all the garbage that, you were raised believing is, I don't know, some level of, truth, because most of the stuff we've been fed isn't. And it's just really just important to understand and know yourself real deeply, and just to pay attention to, like I said before, frequency and vibration. The balance, the inner balance of the masculine and feminine is crucial. So is creating harmony in our relationships. And the thing is, when things fall out of harmony, it's important to just stop everything and to, take the higher road and look at the best approach for bringing things back into union again. Because this is everything that's been targeted. I mean, we hear the information, it gets so complex and almost beyond our scope of understanding at times. But when we break it down to the most simple thing, this is the one thing that, has been harmed the most, relationships and our relationship with ourself and our awareness of our divinity, of course. So tips, watch the food you eat, keep harmony in relationships, be vulnerable, be just brave enough to be yourself and be true to who you are, regardless of what anybody else thinks. Who cares really what anybody else, has to say about it? It's your truth. It's your freedom. And the minute people really step into that, they start to attract like-minded people. They start to get in touch with their purpose, and they start to really live, the real stuff. And that's really what the Ascension Path is about. And when it comes to trying to enlighten friends and family, and it starts to create a lot of discord, and, you get projected on as being crazy, you really just refocus on the heart energy again, and unification and just love. If nothing else works, if people aren't going to accept the information, it's better to not allow it to ruin relationships, but to just hold a space of love and acceptance, just to keep the vibration high. Because anything that conquers and divides, anything that separates us, anytime we form massive judgments, or we live in historical resentments or ancestral patterns, and just stuff that we unconsciously react to and become or embody, we need to clear away. And the best way to do that is, either fast, just for a time being, or just, clean up the food you eat, get yourself in nature, do really, wonderful things that just honor your being. It's really about self-love, and being okay to just reveal and be just honest about just some of the difficulties. There's a lot more support out there, and it's no longer a time to live in a facade or a programming. It's really time to get real and genuine. So take those risks, and if people don't like them, they don't belong in your life. Another thing is just get familiar with cosmic and earth energies, and focus on just the way that nature works, because that's the real law, and the physics of how we respond to the natural order. Is how karma is created. It's not based on some judgmental God. It just has to do with our own balance. So coming into balance is critical. And so when adversity or crisis shows up, or pain in the body, let it be a messenger. Let it help you get aligned, rather than throw you into a victim consciousness, or into, throwing your power to somebody else, like pharmaceuticals or addiction or conventional medicine or government. And just really look at your own wisdom, and allow it to be an opportunity to unearth that wisdom and work with it a little bit. And you'll find that you've got everything that you need within, and that most everything out there is to take advantage of that lack of awareness and to feed off of it. Keep the vibration high, focus on inner balance, and and harmonious relationships, and do your best to forgive and get into present time and release the past. But usually, the past is released when we gain the wisdom of particular experiences that showed up that are hard to let go of. And just know that there is no judgmental force out there. It's really about our frequency and about our self-responsibility to the best of who we are. That's going to get us ascended, not, some permission from anybody else but ourselves to, live on the highest level. And just, we all have a purpose. This is our collective purpose, is to embody this. And nothing else is more important than doing the inner work. It's not a distraction. Actually, everything else is the distraction, So